Hello, friend. Welcome to More Than a Male Spouse. I'm your host, Christine, a seasoned military spouse who has moved 7 times in the last 10 years. And I would like to say that I am now an expert at boxing and unboxing our life, probably more of the unboxing than the boxing part. Today, we are talking about ways to make not just the move itself a little less stressful, but the next 6 months of your life. So what do you say? Let's dive in to the show. Welcome to More Than a Mil Spouse, the podcast for military spouses who want to live with more meaning and less overwhelm. I'm your host, Christine, seasoned military spouse, mom of 3, life coach, and your guide to intentionally designing a life you're excited about as a military spouse. I'm here to help you get the clarity you need so you can get unstuck and unlock your purpose and potential. Because you, my friend, are more than a mil spouse. You have something valuable to offer. And when you pursue the things that light your heart on fire, you trade frustration for fulfillment and isolation for a life of impact. It's time to discover who you are meant to be, because together we can change the world. Okay, here's the reality of my situation. I get 11 months in this house before it's time to box everything up and do this moving thing again next summer. And if I'm being honest, I am not ready to think about the moving next summer part. I am still working on getting my garage cleaned out here in October. And the reality is, even when we move next summer, they have not guaranteed us any longer than a year there as well. We are in this really weird cycle right now where they said we have to be prepared to move 4 summers in a row. And that feels a little daunting. I've had to do a lot of mindset work around this about how it could be great for me. What's possible because I'm moving a lot. Because there's part of me that is not excited about this at all. And trying to unpack, get settled, and know that I got to do it again is sometimes hard. But what I want to do today is really talk about not just the moving itself, but the getting settled in a new place. Because I'm learning a lot about this process of not only moving, but finding yourself, finding your rhythms, and then getting ready to do it all again. Funny story, last fall, somebody gifted me a book about moving and how to prepare for your move. And my first thought was, how many times has the author moved? Because if they have not moved more than 10 times, I'm not really interested in what they have to say, because I know that every move is a little bit different. And so if you've only done it a few times, then there's only so many things that you have to share, because it's really based on the experience you had versus principles that apply to most moves. A lot of people think of the moving process itself as challenging, and it can be, especially if you are doing the work yourself. Now, we have only done one ditty in 16 years of moving. So I'm used to letting the packers come in, box everything up, load it on the moving truck, move it to wherever it is we're moving, and then they unload the truck, and then I set up the house and get started. So I have a lot more perspective on the getting settled in a new place than I do in the actual nuts and bolts of how you successfully move your stuff from one place to another. But I will be honest in saying that it takes time to get settled in a new place. It takes a lot of mental energy and capacity that you can't devote to other things when you are trying to get set up in a new place. So here's what I've learned about making that transition go as smoothly as can be. Number 1, get your house put together as quickly as possible. Now, there are some exceptions to this, but primarily, I have found that the quicker we get the boxes unpacked and moved out, the more we were able to start living rather than just existing in this house with boxes everywhere and not feeling like it's home, especially because we move so often. I want the house to feel like our house, like a home, as quickly as possible. So I've gotten really good about saying, okay, let's attack this room. Let's get this space put together, especially the kitchen, the living room, all of the places that we need to function. Get those unpacked, get those boxes out of the way, and then we can feel like we're actually living in a space. The second thing I hear a lot of people say is, well, I'm only going to be in this house for a year, so we're not going to fully unpack. We're just gonna kind of make do with the bare minimum. I am not a fan of this approach. I believe in getting settled and hanging the pictures on the wall, hanging up the curtains, making a space feel like home, even if it's not for a long period of time. Because there's a lot of research out there that says what your physical surrounding, your space, your home environment looks like impacts in both conscious and unconscious ways how you show up. If the space that you are in does not feel like your space, if it does not feel like home, that's going to impact all these other areas of our lives. Think of it as when your home is really cluttered. You haven't had the chance to clean or to declutter for a while, and it starts to pile up, and you have papers all over your desk, and you have all these piles of laundry that you haven't gotten to. It begins to impact your mood, your emotions, how you are showing up. Usually, when my space gets to this place where I have not had time to deal with everything in my house, I find myself feeling much more likely to snap at my husband or my kids. It impacts how I'm showing up in all these other areas of my life. And I can look at the state of my desk and how cluttered it is and know that that is how I am showing up in so many other areas of my life. So I think and truly believe that our home environment matters and that it's important to put those pictures on the wall, to hang up those curtains, to make it feel like home, even if it's only going to be home for a short amount of time. So 1, get your house in order as quickly as possible. 2, hang those pictures on the wall. Command strips are the most amazing invention ever, I think, because I don't have to worry about filling all the holes. So whatever we can, we try to hang up with command strips just because it makes the move out that much easier. 3, prioritize people. And I will say, sometimes I have done really well with this, and in other moves, I've really struggled with this because it takes a while to build those connections, to build relationships, to become close friends with someone. And it's easy to know, I'm not going to be here this long. It's not worth it to invest in those relationships. But I have to tell myself, relationships matter. Investing in people matters. And it's really important to take the time to find your people, especially people that you are in physical proximity with. There is so much research out there that tells us that we need community. We need friendships. We need relationships. We are better together. And it takes intention because wherever you move, sometimes it's easier if you are moving on to a military base or installation because there are other people in the same boat. And that's not always the case if you are just buying a house in the local community where people have had their friends for however many years. And they are not as used to building relationships with people they don't know. So it's going to look different in each place that we live. But taking the time to invest in getting to know other people always pays off. So prioritize building those relationships because they are going to help you. Even if that means going to your next door neighbor and saying, hey, nice to meet you. Would you be willing to be my child's emergency contact? Number 4, establish your systems and routines. This is the one that always slightly annoys me because by the time I figure out what systems and routines work for us, it's time to move to the next house where you have to establish all new systems and routines. And so far, it has changed vastly depending on where we live, how close we are to the kids' school, how close we are to the base, whether we're living on base or off base, all of these things that really make our lives flow. You find the routines that work for you, and then you move and you got to figure it all out again, which sometimes you can seamlessly transition the way that you did something at the last space and you can still do it that same way. But more often than not, you've got to figure out completely different systems because the kids are involved in different activities and how far you are from the grocery store varies greatly and what's available around you varies greatly. But the more that you take the time to sit down and say, okay, what all needs to happen? Where does that fit into the calendar? Who is responsible for this? The more you can take that time up front to do that, the better off you're going to be in the long run because those systems, those routines really help set us up for success in our everyday life and in our ability to have and carve out the time to do the things that matter most to us. And so get those systems, get those routines established as quickly as possible. Which leads me into number 5, which is not the most fun part of moving, but I think it's important to talk about. And it's really this mental load and being realistic about how much time it takes to get settled into a place because you have all of the initial things that you've got to do when you move. You've got to get the car registered. You got to get the kids registered for school. You got to do all of these things that initially get you into the new place where you live. But it just is a process to find all the systems, to find all the service providers, to do all the things that you know where to go, who to call if something were to happen. There is a mental load and just a time component to this. Which grocery stores around me have the best selection, have the best prices? Where is the hole-in-the-wall place that has that one thing that I need? The best hairdresser that is affordable and can specialize in curly hair. How many dentists do I need to call before I find one that takes our insurance and is taking new patients right now, right? Where can I go to get a massage? Okay, so I went to this person, this service provider. They were not nearly as good as the one from the place that I left. So now I need to go research who else I can go to, where else I can go to do the thing that I want to get done. It's not the unboxing of stuff that takes the most time. It's finding these little things that once you've been established in a place for a while, you don't have to spend the mental capacity to figure out. There's just so much time that goes into researching and trying and figuring out what works for you, what works for your family, and where to go when something goes wrong. Okay, my kid needs to go to urgent care. Where are the closest urgent cares? Which one takes our insurance? Are they able to provide the care that we need? So all of these things, after you have been in a place for a while, you're not going to spend as much mental energy trying to figure all of this out, but it takes a while. There are days when I think, man, if we did not move this often, how much more capacity would I have for other things in life? Capacity that I spend on trying to figure out resources and what's available to us where we are currently living. My kid wants to go to the playground. Well, what are the playgrounds around? I got to go research what playgrounds are available that are going to be interesting to my kid. That's something, if you have lived somewhere for 5 years, you are not going to have to give a second thought to because you just know, or your kid has outgrown going to the playground, which also might be valid. But all those things it takes time and energy to figure it out. So you just have to give yourself grace and know that this is going to take time. And to know, back to point 4, that the systems, the routines might not be the same. And so you got to figure out those new systems, those routines. For example, let's take this move. Last year, I got really focused on getting control and getting on a health journey and making sure I was prioritizing my health and fitness and establishing all of these systems and routines that helped me reach my fitness goals. And then we moved. What was working really well for me, because we had a basement and because I could just go downstairs first thing in the morning, get my workout in, and then be good to go for the day. And it was fantastic. And then we moved, and the kids start school an hour earlier, so I don't have the time in the morning, nor do I have the space because there's no basement. There's nowhere in my house that's really great for working out, so I've got to go 5 minutes down the road to go to the gym to work out. And that 5 minutes it's not far away at all, right? But the time change of the kids starting school earlier and me not having that time in the morning and having to leave my house to go do it, it has totally changed the way that I am showing up for my fitness routine or not showing up for it. And I'm still working on finding those new routines. And it's sometimes frustrating because I was like, I had this figured out and now I have to start over. I had the healthy treats that I liked at our last base. They had these Yasso frozen Greek yogurt poppables. They are fantastic. The coffee flavor is my favorite. And I could just pop one of those in my mouth after dinner. And it was like the perfect sweet after dinner treat without a lot of calories. Those are not available anywhere near where we live. So it's like, okay, I found that healthy treat that worked for me, but now I've got to figure out something else because that is not available to me. I know when we lived on tropical islands for 4 years that if I wanted to relax, I could just go sit by the beach for an hour or go paddleboarding, or at our last duty station, it was the coffee shop down the street. There was something that I could do to go and relax. And then every time we move, I'm like, okay, those things that really worked for me that I loved at the last duty station are not available here. So what is available here? And are there places that I can go to get away? And that just takes time to research and find those places and what I'm going to do to fill my own cup. You know, here we are, October. We've been here for 3-ish months and I'm still working on finding those things in this place. And then I'm going to figure it out and then it'll be time to move again next summer. I just want to help you think through this and to expect that it takes time to get settled into a new location. And then last but not least, I think it's important to say, feel your feelings. Because it's easy to get so busy trying to do all the things that we don't take time to feel and to process our feelings. How am I going to approach this season? Am I going to embrace it? What do I need to grieve about leaving the last duty station? What am I doing to make sure that I am making the most of my current assignment and not resenting it? And guys, especially if this is your first move or you haven't moved in a while, I want you to understand that there are lots of feelings and emotions that come with moving. Don't bury those feelings. Learn to feel them, process them, release them, and reframe your thinking about the situation. That is going to help you much more in the long run. I have done it the hard way. I have wrestled against certain assignments. I have really struggled with certain assignments more than others. But the thing that I think is so important is to feel those feelings, allow them to process through you. Don't try to bury them, but then look to the future. How can I reframe? How can I make the most of wherever I'm at for as long as we are there? I would love to hear from you. What tips do you have that have helped you with your move, or what helps you the most from this conversation today? Let's have a conversation about not just planning for the move, how are we going to move all our stuff, but accepting that there is a process that comes with getting settled in a new location. I would love for you to come share any thoughts, experiences, ideas you have in the free More Than a Milspouse Facebook community. I'm happy to answer any questions you have there. And if you found this episode helpful, please go share it with someone else who is in the process of moving or is struggling with getting settled in a new location. Friend, you are more than a milspouse. Until next time, may you live filled, fueled, and full of joy. Hey, amazing milspouse. Before you go, I want you to know that I love hearing from you. The More Than a Milspouse community exists to help you thrive as a military spouse. Figure out what lights your heart on fire and empower you to live with purpose and impact. You can have an incredible impact simply by heading over to iTunes to subscribe and leave a review. But your impact doesn't stop there. You can empower those around you simply by sharing an episode with a friend or neighbor, someone who needs a little encouragement in this military life. And if this episode was meaningful to you, spread the love by taking a screenshot of this episode and tagging me on Instagram so we can continue to reach more people, change more lives, and shift the way that military spouses look at life. Because we are better together. Together, we can change the world. Let's do it.